I'm on the witness protection program, no focus.
Well, good evening, dear Toastmasters, guests. We have very important guests tonight at our meeting. We have Area Director Bruce Garrett. Welcome. And we have Richard from Universal City Toastmasters, who is visiting tonight.
Yes, Richard Guerrero.
And I also know that Rikita Hughes, if I pronounce that correctly, is planning to attend a little later. She is Division H Director. Now, please welcome me or join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I let the Toastmaster of the evening, Jim Lowry, do his duty, I would ask just briefly, Bruce, there are so many positions in this organization. Would you briefly explain what your role actually consists of and what do you do in your daily activities for Toastmasters?
Okay. Well, as area director, my role is to try to represent the District 55, which we're in. I don't know, since you're a new club, you're probably learning about the overall Toastmasters organization, but basically it's club, area, division, district, region, international. So it's a worldwide organization, and I've got a real small part just as an area geographically to cover 6 clubs in my area that have been assigned to me. And I'm here to help you with your club and to represent the district, give you district information that you don't already get via email, and help make you a successful club. And congratulations, you are now 1 month old. I'm honored to be here and be able to visit with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for doing this short notice, as always. Please guide us through the meeting.
Our first task is to review the agenda and fill in any gaps. My name is Jim Lowry, and I am your Toastmaster for this evening. Our general evaluator, who you just met, Bruce Garrett. Our first evaluator is on the agenda, Laura Sanchez. Our second evaluator will be Craig Sprout. Our first speaker and our second speaker are still correct on the agenda. Donna Lauder is our timer. Harlan Pickett will be our table topics master, and I think that fills up any gaps in our agenda. Our first task for this evening is to learn a new word from our word master grammarian. Please help me welcome Tammy Perez.
Our word today is Elysian. You can pronounce it in one of 3 ways: Elysian, Elysian, or Elysian. So I found all of those pronunciations. If something is Elysian, it is blissful or delightful. The word comes from the Greek Elysian field, where the heroic and the virtuous go after death. So I suppose it's a little bit similar to heavenly. An example of a use would be, my husband and I went to the beach and it was an Elysian experience.
Outstanding. My wife and I like to go to parks and go for walks. Mainly we're looking for wild animals. And we were up at Lowe's on O'Connor Road, and we had a little time to kill, and I looked on the sum of all human knowledge, and there was a park nearby. So we went over to Wood Lake Park, never heard of it. It's a heavily wooded area in the middle of a housing area, and it's such an Elysian place. There were deer. Wow, deer right there in a housing area? They must feed the deer And one of the joggers said, "Is it deer season?" It looks like it's time for our speakers to enlighten us with their sage wisdom. Our first speaker, Andrea Ferguson. Her speech title is How My Life Changed Transitioning to Direct Primary Care. Andrea is going to explain how her fear of healthcare costs in the U.S. nearly kept her from returning, and how a new model of healthcare eases her worries upon return. Please help me welcome Andrea Ferguson.
Dear Toastmasters, yes, as some of you know, I lived nearly a decade overseas in a number of countries. I was a graduate student in London, and most recently, an educator in South Korea and Spain. I've been blessed to see the rice paddies of Bali and sunsets on islands most people have never heard of, an Elysian experience. However, a year ago, I decided it was finally time to come back to the USA and repatriate myself for good. I love traveling, but I also love my country and I miss Texas. I miss the food, the weather, the people. I found myself wanting to come home. However, the one fear that I could just not shake was the idea of coming back to deal with the dreaded US healthcare system. It seemed to be the one factor I couldn't control, no matter how much of a hardworking American I was. That lack of control of health expenditure terrified me. Overseas, I remember a barrage of government emails bombarding my inbox with solutions for not being covered with health insurance. When I left the US, there was no such thing as mandatory coverage for health insurance. There wasn't a penalty for not having it, but right before leaving, all I remember were nagging emails urging me to sign up to get covered or else. Urgent, 24 hours remaining, the subject title read. And upon opening it, I read the bold letters. You could be penalized $695 for not being covered today, for not being insured. I think the last 4 years in Madrid, in Spain, had spoiled me. I could walk into virtually any clinic in Madrid and receive the service that I needed without paying a dime. The most that I paid for a prescription was €5. All of my memories of healthcare in the USA were not bad. I remember being transported when I was 17 years old in a stretcher for being immobilized after having really painful, immobilizing cramps that wouldn't cease even after 6 hours of medication, only to have a bill arrive in the mail of $500 for taking strong painkillers through an IV. I learned very quickly at a young age, you don't go to the hospital unless you're dying. And I still have a hard time to this day thinking any different. When I was in Korea, I remember a friend being transported for $50. Well, what would be the equivalent of $50? And she only had the responsibility to pay $25 of it. I remember my experiences in a US hospital too. I don't often go to the doctor, but when I do, I'm usually like everyone else, in and out. And that's not because I want to be, but that's because time with patients and doctors are very limited. They're not only limited, but they're controlled. Did you know that your doctor probably spends more time with their computer than they do with you? And I didn't think that was true, but after researching, I found out that it was. Between seeing family members pushed out of the emergency care and having 11-minute lightning round appointments with the doctor myself, the patient experience for me had always been far beyond optimal. I was not alone in this thought. In my last few months abroad, I found out that I had a uterine polyp that needed to be removed. And as a woman, you can imagine that's pretty scary. I didn't know what that meant. But it was done immediately after diagnosis. It was quick, it was painless, and it was a procedure that was paid for, which eased a lot of my qualms. But I found my list of health issues growing. A polyp here, dysmenorrhea there, and then I found out I had a cyst. So as my list of problems began to grow, so did my fear. worrying for finding accessible healthcare upon return to the USA. Even if I did have some of the things taken care of, I knew that it would need to be monitored and controlled. I knew that I would have to go to see a primary care physician, and I didn't know where I was going to be able to find a clinic for a reasonably low fee that with decent quality. And I found myself asking questions like, what if I just need a basic checkup? Why should I have to suffer through a fever, through back pain, a headache? Where can I get primary care, and how ridiculous is the cost going to be? How much is my copay going to be? How long am I going to have to wait for an appointment? I thought about what to do if I needed an employment physical. I had so many questions bombard my mind that I didn't even know where to begin. Mind you, I've been overseas for 10 years. And as my head started swirling, thinking about all of these things of what to do, I finally just decided to let everything rest. Fast forward to July of this year, and I finally had an experience that I didn't even know was possible in the US. After becoming an employee at Shanks Web Development in San Antonio, I realized that I was now a member of Direct Med Clinic, which is a direct primary care clinic. Here, and they provide urgent care, primary care, all of the tangible things that I needed at an affordable price. I was so eager to get a checkup. I remember being really excited, calling all of my friends and telling them, look, I can actually go and see a doctor. And I emailed my doctor. I got a response right away telling me to schedule an appointment for the next day at 2 p.m. Is this even real? I don't remember ever being able to make an appointment, let alone through email. I didn't even know doctors actually did that with patients. The entire concept was so foreign to me, but I agreed to have this mysteriously good-sounding doctor's appointment. I walked in the next day to meet Marlene Pallett, who was an RN, and Dr. Raja Muchigemba. And everything that I had learned about direct primary care, all of the research that I had done, held true, every single word. I was greeted at the front desk as I signed in, sat and waited to be seen. And as I swiped my card for $10, I just still couldn't believe, like, this is actually true. I'm only paying $10 to get seen. I sat down, I picked up a magazine, I relaxed myself as I heard these gentle voices in the background, and I later met with all of the staff, and it was shown around the small but comfortable clinic. I remember there were San Antonio Fiesta photos all around the room, the warmly colored maroon walls, and everyone seemed to be really happy. My vitals were taken, I sat down, and shortly I was met by Dr. Muchigemba, who, after examining me, he was really honest in his approach, but asked my personal opinion on what he wanted to happen. I could tell that they were both happy, and I was really happy that I finally had an experience that was true to what the American dream should be, to have accessible and affordable care for hardworking Americans. Thank you.
Because I'm not the Toastmaster in the speech contest, I can say, wow. I noticed we had some ballots on the table, but you, as a brand new club, may not know what these are for. These provide a small space for every member in the club to make comments on the speaker that just came and to make comments on the speaker that will come. That way, not only does the speaker get the general or the evaluator verbally evaluating their speech, but everyone has the opportunity to say, wow. Our next speaker, Shankar Ponsele, is working out of the innovative communication path. The question Shankar gets most often when he tells people that he's from Luxembourg is, where did you get that accent? No. Why did you leave? I have the same question. In today's speech, Shankar will explain the most pertinent differences which make him prefer living here versus the old continent. Please help me welcome our second speaker, Shankar Ponsele.
Dear Toastmaster, dear guests, you don't know how often I get into the situation of being introduced to someone or introducing myself to someone, and then of course the question comes up, where are you from? And I know here in the United States, where are you from often means where are your origins from? Because people will say, I'm from Germany, and what they mean is their grandfathers were from Germany. But I will tell them I'm from Luxembourg, and I first check their face to see whether they actually know where Luxembourg is. A lot of Americans think it is a city in the UK or Germany, and if I notice that they don't know, I quickly tell them it is a small country landlocked by Germany, France, and Belgium, and it is about 80 by 40 miles. We are trilingual, we speak German, French, and Luxembourgish, and most of us do speak a little bit of English and Spanish or Italian. I tell them that we are a very, very wealthy and socialistic country, that everything is fairly predictable, stable, and life is usually on autopilot. And then they ask me, why would you leave such a country? So the big difference from my perspective between the United States and a country such as Luxembourg is that the mindset of the people is different. And I'm not saying that one or the other is right. I'm just saying you need to figure out what is your personality and what is a good match with the types of mindsets. Now you're wondering, come on, what is the mindset? Well, here in the United States, I feel that people are a lot more active-minded, and in Europe, more specifically in Luxembourg, I can only talk to that country, people are a little bit more passive-minded. Let me give a few examples out of work life. In Luxembourg, when someone starts working with a company, they hope that they will retire with that company. They're not necessarily looking to switch jobs all the time, to gain more experience, to get more salary. They just want a steady life, predictable life, 9 to 5. And when I say 9 to 5, I mean 9 to 5 on the dot. If you ask a Luxembourg employee to even stay 5 minutes longer, that's a big deal, and they will jump into your face, and the boss will really have consequences for that. You cannot do that to people in Luxembourg. It is not acceptable. Of course, you know, here in the United States it's different. People are being asked to produce their best, to push hard, to constantly grow, to hustle, and that is something that I really love about the United States. Because when I am in a position I want to produce the very best, I want to push myself to the boundaries of my capabilities. That's what I mean when I say you need to see if your personality is a good match with the mindset of the country. When I was in Luxembourg and I strove like that, meaning I tried to work more, go the extra mile, I made the other people that worked with me look lazy and complacent, which is what they were. It is the golden cage that a lot of people strive after, and I think it is okay to want to live that life, but if you are not a good fit with that mindset, it is depressing. Coming to the United States was like going into an Elysian situation where all of a sudden my higher input was equal to higher reward. And that is something that makes my soul and my being very, very, very happy. It is why I think I would rather be a poor person in the United States versus a well-to-do person in Luxembourg. One other aspect, which is really very different here, is the mindset and attitude towards first responders, veterans, and police officers. It's probably hard for you to believe that someone who joins these forces in Luxembourg is considered a lazy person who is not quite educated enough to work in the private sector. Can you imagine that people working in the police force often think whether they should publicly disclose in a setting, for example, at a family dinner, that they are a police officer? Because what happens is later, maybe during dessert, people will come up to you and ask, Shankar, I don't understand. You're such a smart boy. Why did you feel to join the police forces? Should you not have gone on and study more instead of wasting your talent like that? And that, to me, just inherently shows the difference also between that people and this people, and the gratitude and the feelings of wanting to serve a nation. It's something that is highly honored here in the United States, and I love it. I just can't get enough of it. You can clearly see now that this country is a better match for me for these two reasons. I'm a hard worker. I like to push myself to the limits of my capabilities. And I think that being in service for the community is what defines a strong nation. Thank you so very much for listening to me.
I've been in Toastmasters for almost 10 years, and these are the reasons why I keep coming back. There is such a wealth of people and personalities and experiences that I get to share in. To me, that's golden. It's time now for our timers report of our two speakers. How well did they do?
Well, Toastmaster, thank you for asking. I'm Donna Louder, and tonight I'm your timer. We have Andrea Ferguson. She went at 7 minutes, 18 seconds. And Shankar Ponsalé, 6 minutes, 47 seconds. Very nice job.
We write our speeches and we practice to get them within the 5 to 7 minutes so that we can get said in a succinct manner. Our politicians could learn a lot from Toastmasters. It's time now for our impromptu speaking portion of the meeting. Oh, I'd like to say this is the most fun, but I could say that about every portion. Please help me welcome our Table Topics master, Harlan Pickett.
Hello. Thank you, sir.
You.
I'm going to stand up here instead of back there because I'm not a back there kind of guy. I'm an up here kind of guy. And today's first contestant is Michael. Come on up, Michael. We're not taking volunteers. We're going to be volunteers today. So I want to tell you right off, congratulations. Your application was accepted. You and your family will now be taking that trip to Mars that y'all dreamed about. Now, the good news is you and your family and your pets get to go, but you're only able to take 3, count them, 3 personal objects with you. Personal things that have whatever kind of, whether you just got to have it or you just can't live without it. What are those going to be, sir?
3 for me or 3 for the whole
3 for you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to take 3 things on a trip to Mars, from which I shall probably never return.
That is correct.
You didn't say that, but we'll go ahead and assume it. This is going to be fun. So, 3 things about me that are very important and crucial to my understanding of life as a human being. One is golf. This is funny because it is a passion of mine and has been for a long time, and one that I have forgotten for the better part of the last 10 years that I'm starting to build back into my life. An odd thing to bring to Mars if you think of it as a sport. I think of it as meeting Martians who, if proven hostile, would get clubbed. And if they are favorable and likable, I could teach them how to play golf, bring them back to the United States or to Luxembourg, and be an international hero for bringing golf across the galaxies. The second thing I would bring would be books. That's my second thing. It's probably got a lot of things in it, but I'm just going to go with books because I'm under a time constraint. The third thing I would bring would be, oh, I don't know the third thing I would bring. I would bring my friends. And I'm going to go ahead and break all these rules. So I would bring my friends, I would bring a lot of books, and I would bring my golf club. And then I would tell all my children to bring all the other things that I forgot about. Thank you very much.
Okay, so some of you folks have been in this a long time. So Bruce, I ain't letting you off the hook. Come on up here, buddy. Oh yeah, it's tabletop time for the master, right? Wow, yeah. So that new technology that you found out about, now you've got to make the decision because it's available and it's available for free. But there's a limited number. You have to decide really quick. Do you want the technology that will now allow you to read to read people's minds and thoughts, or are you going to take a pass, and why?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. Should I take a pass, or should I accept this technology that helps me read people's minds? I'm definitely going to take a pass, because I know how my mind works. And you think about the amount of information and thoughts, everything going through my mind, even into the night, which is why I have insomnia a lot of times, still thinking, the brain's still going. I don't want to read that from anybody else's mind. That technology sounds fascinating. I would love to be able to understand how it works, how those brain waves get received into that device, whatever it is, reverse engineer it, be able to understand how they did it. Just because I like technology and I understand technology and electronics, I want to be able to understand how they could do that, because there's probably a lot more good things that could be done with that technology than just reading people's minds. So I'm going to pass on that, and I thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for a crazy question.
You're very welcome. Crazy's my middle name. Oh yeah. Matt, come on up, buddy. We got a good one for you here.
All right.
We got a good one for you.
Thank you.
All right, Matt. So, do you like pets? Do you have a pet? Do you?
The wife has 4, so I have 4.
Okay. So, what kind of pets do you have?
2 dogs, 2 cats.
2 dogs, 2 cats. So you're an excellent person to ask this question. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Why?
Dogs are friendlier, more affectionate, warmer. I can relate to a dog. Dogs come when I call it. Cats never ever do. Dogs are predictable. I heard it. No, I'm going to tell the joke. Cats are cleaner. I got to give them that for the most part. Cats usually use the box. Dogs never use the box. I can take a dog for a walk. You can rarely take a cat for a walk. You can play games with the dog. You can rarely play games with the cat, although your cat will play games with you all day long. Cats used to be worshipped as gods in ancient Egypt, and I think they still haven't gotten over that attitude.
Don't look at me. It's a title right here.
You can substitute lots of stuff. If you run out of dog food, you can substitute nothing for a cat's favorite food, nothing. So that's why I like dogs better. Dog spelled backwards is God. And I all want to be close to God. See, you eat with your canines. I don't know if I do anything with my felines. Do I even have felines? Maybe I do. I don't know. And I'm going to tell the joke I said I wasn't going to tell.
Okay, go for it.
Men always like to have gas, and dogs like to smell butts, and that's why we get along so well.
Thank you, man. Sure appreciate it. Laura, come on. including now, as in this era, when would be the greatest time, in your opinion, to be alive? And why?
You know, I actually think things have become so complicated now. I would prefer not to choose this current era because I see how complicated social things are for my children as compared to what we had growing up when we didn't have cell phones and everything wasn't so public. I think actually the time I grew up in the 70s and 80s, I'm dating myself now, you're going to get to how old I am fairly quickly. I'm 47. I think the time I grew up, we were much more innocent. We had a lot more freedom to explore, to go ride our bikes for miles, to be able to be outside and feel safe. And all of the social situations seemed more simple. And I wish that for my daughter, especially, so that she didn't have to navigate so many complicated things with social media. I can't allow her to go outside the way I was able to go outside and explore. And I love nature because I got to spend so much time outside. She can't have the same luxury to just go out and explore the world on her own. So I think actually the time I grew up in the 70s and 80s was a great time to really explore and grow as a person.
I love it. I agree with you 100%, by the way. All right, we got time for one more? Person? We got time for one more?
Yes, we do.
All right, good deal. Our visitor from University City, Richard, come on up, baby. Yeah, I'm gonna hide behind our Toastmaster over there. I tried. What are you most skilled at?
Obviously not hiding behind the Toastmaster. I would say cooking. I love to cook. When I was in the Air Force, I wanted to be a jet pilot, but they made me a cook. But I was sent to Minot in the Air Force Base in the SAC Alert, so I got to see the pilots come in, and I got to see the airplanes out there, and I got to cook them steaks for officers. Now, hamburgers for the enlisted men, of course. So I think, and I kept up with that. I still like to cook. I enjoy cooking pastas, tacos, we call it, and I love, oh my gosh, I don't have the word today, I can't remember it. Elysium.
Blissful.
Blissful.
Delightful.
Delightful.
Sounds like those steaks.
Exactly, like steaks. And that's what I think I really enjoy, is cooking.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate it, Richard. Wow. That was definitely an Elysium experience. Thank you so much for participating tonight. And Toastmaster, come on back. It's all yours, baby.
Timer. May we have a timer report on our table topics responded?
Why, you sure can, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very
For
much.
Michael Hornes, we had 1 minute 50 seconds. For Bruce Garrett, we had 1 minute 12 seconds. For Matthew, the comedian, 1 minute 39 seconds. Laura Sanchez, 1 minute 22 seconds. And Richard Gutierrez? Guerrero, 1 minute 16 seconds.
Thank you very much. I do want to make one comment on Laura's response. If you subtract 10 more years, it was the 70s and 80s that were the most interesting. I'm sure, because I was 57. Looks like it's time now for our general evaluator to come up and tell us how well we've done throughout this meeting. Please help me welcome our district director, no, not district, area director, Bruce Garrett.
My role for you tonight as general evaluator is to evaluate the overall meeting, run this portion of the meeting, the evaluation portion, which is to hear evaluations about 2 good speeches that we had tonight. And then we'll get our functionary reports during this evaluation portion of the meeting also. So I'm going to start with the first evaluator, evaluating Andrea's speech. That is Laura Sanchez. Please help me welcome Laura.
Andrea, I wanted to congratulate you, on the selection of your topic. I thought it was a really relevant topic for all of us. I think we can all relate to the fear around how to provide appropriate health care and the cost of that health care and what happens if you lose your health care. It's a situation I think that's top of mind for all of us all the time. I know it is for me. I also wanted to let you know that really what you excelled at was the engaging story, how it was relevant to everyone. It was very easy to follow the timeline of your story, and then also the examples that you provided and the details that you provided, I think really strengthened your overall point that you were making. And your clarity and tone were excellent, I thought, throughout the speech. You used heavier tone when you wanted to exemplify your point. You backed off when you were more telling the timeline of the story, and I thought that was really excellent. Things that I think you could work on is possibly having a little bit more of a relaxed stance behind the podium. I noticed that your hands were like this a lot and clenched at certain times, so maybe just relaxing your hand gestures a bit would give you the appearance of being more relaxed. And then what I would challenge you to do is to move away from the podium a little bit more and engage, walk around the room to engage the audience a little bit and to make eye contact for longer periods of time. I know you were using your notes and you were following your story, but if you can make eye contact for longer periods of time instead of as much up and down with your eyes, I think that would even engage the group a little bit more. But excellent, excellent work. And then I provided a little more notes on your sheet. There you go. So, congratulations.
Our second evaluator, evaluating Shankar Poncelet's speech, is Craig Sprout, one of your mentors. Help me welcome Craig.
I always look forward to your talks about your homeland. What's the great faraway mythical Luxembourg, which I actually do know where it is. So where you excelled, you really used facial expressions well. When you tried to use shock, those were very good. Keep up with those. Good eye contact. I saw you looking around the room. Keeping eye contact. Now I want to check on something. Okay, I don't see any magnets back here, and I don't see any doors, so I would encourage you to get away from the lectern. And when leaning on the lectern kind of seems like it's really casual, but it also kind of looks too casual. For some people, this can be a bump or a turnoff for them. So just keep an eye. And you can move with purpose. You can come out and say, you can look your audience right in the eye and come over here and take a moment to look everyone in the eye. I like your vocal variety, where I think you can improve on it. Just pause. Just take a little pause. Let the story breathe. When you trip up, don't correct yourself. No one in this room will know that you tripped up. And that's what I'm thinking about, as you said, well, I can only speak to the people, country. If you just said the people, it would have been perfectly fine. We would have been oblivious. I liked, you used a couple phrases that really caught my attention. Golden cage. I love that one. That was fantastic because you contrasted that with active people versus passive people. And so that really kind of spoke to me as well, is that golden cage is beautiful, but it's still a cage. And active people, people that go out and work hard, and people that, hey, I'm here at 8 and I'm gone at 5. That's the DMV also, by the way. So to challenge yourself, say get out from behind the lectern and move around. And when you're using hand gestures, maybe try and make yourself a little bigger. There's a lot of, even when you're leaning on the lectern, there's a lot of closeness. And you can use hand gestures to make yourself bigger. And kind of focus on just keeping your hands down, relaxed in front of you. Sometimes this feels like the most awkward thing in the world, especially if you're a little bit nervous. You want to go like this. But it's cool. Just hang out. Keep your hands loose. Mr. General Gaudier.
Madam Timer, can we get a timer's report for our 2 evaluators?
Yes, sir. General Evaluator Laura Sanchez, 1 minute 41 seconds, and Craig Sprout, 3 minutes and 11 seconds.
All right, thank you. Speaking of timer's reports, for a new club and what you're getting to learn all about the Toastmasters life, these times become very critical as a table topic speaker or an evaluation speaker, because as you get to do this, there's going to be contests in the future where you can do that, and they are very strict about times. And even though this is a club meeting where you're not being really qualified for a time, keep that in mind as she gives those reports to whoever your timer is on a given meeting. Those times, if you can stay within those times that they're given, that'll be great for you if you decide to compete. Table topics, evaluations, and speeches, of course. Next functionary report we need to get is our grammarian and word of the day person. Please stand and tell us how we did.
So we love so in this club.
So what's wrong with
And
that?
the winner of so is Harlan. Well, actually, there's a tie between Harlan and Craig. Actually, we have some ums. And the ums are Matt with 3, and the uhs, Laura, you win the day with 7. We used the word of the day 4 times today. Jim used it once, Harlan used it once, Shankar, and Andrea. I believe that's my report.
Thank you. I think it's time now for my evaluation of the overall meeting. This being my first meeting as a guest and as a visitor here, I'm very impressed because you're only a month old. There's a lot for you to learn. There's so much in Toastmasters. There's so much to learn. And being just a club that's 1 month old, I understand how you're learning things. But I love the meeting environment. This is a great location. Just if you ever get a chance to get out and visit other Toastmasters clubs and where they meet physically, their meeting locations, this is one of the better ones. The microphone and stage up here, the way the lighting is, everything is great. So hopefully you can hang on to this meeting location place as you continue in your journey as a club. Other parts of the evaluation, when I came in, I was greeted by a few people. The paperwork up here, maybe there's something that can be done in setting up it back there so when people come in as visitors, they can grab whatever they want. I asked Shankar for an agenda because I wasn't sure where they're at. I did see all the papers up here, but I guess coming in, maybe sitting in the back there would be good to maybe have some stuff back there for them. I think other than that, I'm very pleased to be here with you. The other part of the general evaluator is to evaluate the evaluators. The speakers get to be evaluated by the evaluators, so how does the evaluators get evaluated? Well, both Laura and Craig gave 2 great evaluations. You guys were very thorough in what you did. Having the evaluation paperwork here in front of you helps to not miss anything, and that's so important for the speakers, so good job there. Evaluation contest, though, keep in mind, and as you grow as a club, you can get to where if you're an evaluator, that short time you have to plan an evaluation speech, that's really what it is. Laura and Craig were up here giving details to the speakers. They needed that. But make it a stretch goal for yourself to where you can get to the place where you don't need that paper. You don't need notes, just like you hopefully won't need notes in your speeches as you get further along in your Toastmasters journey. and be able to evaluate for that 2 to 3 minutes without using that. That's a stretch goal for you right now since you're a new club. But two good evaluations. I think my time as general evaluator is up. I'm going to return control of this stage to our Toastmaster Jim.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to hide back behind this lectern. I do want to make 2 minor comments about the contest. We have them once a year now, and generally we have the International Speech Contest, and you are timed from 5 to 7 minutes. You're allowed to go 7 minutes and 29 seconds. I think you could even stretch it to 7 minutes and 30 seconds, but at 7:31 your speech becomes disqualified. And it doesn't matter if every judge in the room picked you as the first place winner, you did not get first place, you got no place. Now, the other thing to note is by practicing your speeches and getting them under 5 to 7 minutes, you learn how fast you talk in a general setting. I speak at 120 words a minute. So if I need to do a speech for a school and they say, you got 15 minutes, I know how many words I can put in my word processor and still come out right on time. I've covered everything I'm supposed to do as the Toastmaster. It's now time for me to return control of this meeting to our presiding officer.
Thank you, Jim. 2 more items on the agenda tonight. Bruce will hand over the certificates for the official charter members, and then we will let Tammy Perez talk about an event that they have at the college. Andrea, have you prepared all the certificates for Bruce?
Yes.
Right, Bruce, if you would come up and then call the members to pick up their certificates.
All right, thank you. I feel like I've really been worked a lot tonight.
That's what happened.
I volunteered for this part. I didn't know all this stuff, but thank you for doing this. Again, congratulations for being a new Toastmasters Club. I'm glad that you got assigned to my area. I look forward to working with you over the next Toastmaster year, which will go all the way through June 30th of next year. For those charter members that are here, as I call your name up, I'll give you this certificate and shake your hand and congratulate you. The first one on the top of the stack here is Laura Sanchez. Sean Adams, the guy recording. Congratulations, Sean.
I did, but not.
Next charter member, Tammy Perez. Photos?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I apologize for those who've already come up. You didn't get your photo with me. She did it, but we weren't facing the camera. Sorry about that. Michael Horns. I think there might be a second.
Nope.
Just stay.
I'm taking it.
Take both of them.
Matthew Kordelski.
Oh, we said it right there. Well played, sir. Very few people pronounce it right the first time.
Yes.
Last names with 3 syllables are okay. Kordelski.
Yes.
3.
People make it more complicated than this.
For those who've been in India or know of Indian descent people, Pachale was fairly easy to pronounce. The 5 syllables, I'm sorry. I usually mess those up, and I know you've probably seen and worked with people maybe with real long last names. So If you can get those down as a Toastmaster, you're doing great. Craig Sprout. That's better. And Shankar Poncelet, your president. Congratulations, Shankar. And thank you for all you've done for getting this club started. Andrea.
No picture for you. Together.
Congratulations, Andrea. Thank you. Harlette Pickett.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. And I didn't say in my general evaluation about Harlan as table topics master, but the kind of volume that Harlan had with his voice, he's got that. It's just easy to really have a good volume. That's what you want to work on. I need to do that more too, especially with bigger audiences. So vocal variety, he's got it down, I think. Donna Louder.
Thank you.
That is all the names that I have. Did we miss anybody? I think they sorted out through those who are not here tonight. So thank you again for letting me give you the certificates, and congratulations for being a new club, but also as charter members of this club. Stick with it.
Thank you.
Amy?
Thank you. I appreciate having some time tonight to hand out some invitations. We have a Blue Jean benefit coming up. This is a benefit that we put on every year, and it's to raise scholarships for our students at Northeast Lakeview College. And so I just wanted to give those of you who want an invitation. Laura, did you want to say anything else?
Just that this is a lot of fun. The activity is just at is it still the Blue Bonnet?
It's going to be at the Blue Bonnet.
The Blue Bonnet is fun
There's
venue.
food involved.
It's dinner, it's dancing. The executive team is going to dance for everybody, so that ought to be interesting.
She has us learning a line dance.
Learning a line dance to perform for everyone. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to have fun and help us raise scholarship funds for our students that go directly to paying their tuition.
And I have extras if anybody wants them. I'm just going to put them up here.
What's the date?
In November.
Oh.
It's a Thursday.
Oh, that's not the second.
It's on the second.
Right?
It's September the 12th. November 7th. Okay, I'll be back.
Well, thank you so very much. This club being chartered is a big milestone for me and for us. For me, this was an Elysian moment for sure. And I think that is a very good note to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all. Get home safely.
One quick announcement for the club officers. If any of you can stick around, I'm going to meet with Shankar, but I also want to just go ahead and have you mark your calendars, if you would. The first major TLI, or Toastmasters Leadership Institute training for officers, is going to be on December the 7th in San Antonio. And we'll have a location and registration for you later, so just wanted to get you to mark that on your calendars, club officers.
December 7th?
Yes.
Andrea.
Also, you don't have to be an officer to attend. If you're interested in leadership, you can also feel free to attend any session you might be interested in.
Do you happen to know the time on December?
Yeah, they're going to be publishing that probably as of tomorrow. The weekly newsletter comes out from the district. We'll be giving, sending that out. If you can look that email, Shankar will forward it to you as club members, but it'll give time, location, and a registration form for you.
And it is here in San Antonio.
Yes.
Is there going to be another one, or if you're not going to be?
Yes, there will be more. Our Division H that we're in will be a mini TLI, as they call it, and each division has one, and that'll be in January, early January. So if you can't make that one December 7th, we'll have another one for you in early January.
Just as timer tonight, this, my friends, was a dream. Did it work for you guys?
Yes.
Did y'all see it turn? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. This is a great gift. So anybody sign up for timer? It was really easy this time.
And let's not forget we got this because we charted under 30 days. So that was very nice and a common effort. Andrea had a good idea. Why don't we take a group picture with all our charter certificates?
You want me to take that for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. You don't want to be in the picture that you're not invited?
Tall and back or front?
They're not even mine.
This way, or this way. I always press the button to my right.
Probably has an effect on a lot of people.
Okay, so tonight I think I'm actually short.
Hey, how about, folks, what do you think about this, gather around this, so we can see it, don't you think?
Agreed.
I'm never in the picture. I always take the picture. Now, there's something weird happening with this camera. Everybody's face has a little box around it. What's going on there?
Technology.
All right, so now everybody got to look this way and some resemblance of smile. Matt's hiding. Do you take doubles or you just get them doubled at the pharmacy? Okay.
I wonder how many people don't even know what you're talking about.
It was a more innocent time.
Do you mean Prince?
What do you mean?
What is that?
Why would I be getting pictures of the pharmacist?
Excellent. Thank
When
you.
you bring your photo to Robin Williams at 1 hour photo.